Pendleton Ward finally revealed the heavy truth about what really fuels the land of Ooo. It is not just about a boy and his dog. Behind the candy colors lie a reality so heavy it almost broke the creator. He admits that the most terrifying monster in the series was never meant to be just a villain. It was a reflection of something much darker living inside his head. This changes every theory about the Mushroom War. If the Lich felt scary before, wait until you hear why he actually exists. Basically, the real story starts right now. Everyone is obsessed with the idea that Adventure Time is just a fun journey, but here's the catch. The land of Ooo is built on top of a massive grave. For years, viewers saw the broken buildings and the unexploded bombs in the background. Many are not seeing the truth here, which is that the creator used these images to show how he felt about the world. For starters, Pendleton Ward admitted that the show was heavily influenced by a deep sense of existential dread. This is not just a fan theory. He confirmed that the Lich, the most evil being in the show, represents the ultimate end of all things. It is a cosmic horror that exists simply because the universe does not care if you live or die. What most people do not realize is that the Lich was not just a guy in a cape. He was a symbol of the creator's own internal struggles during the busiest years of production. The show started as a small project that nobody expected to happen, but after it became a global hit, the pressure began to crush the man behind the curtain. And get this, the crazy part is that he felt like he was losing his mind. He told reporters that he wanted to cry and vomit every single day because of the stress. This is a key detail because it explains why the show shifted from random jokes to deep, heavy themes of loss and isolation. One of the most overlooked aspects of the show is how much it changed after the second season. The creator felt more trapped. The world of Ooo became more post-apocalyptic. It's not that simple though. He was not just making a show about a war that happened 1,000 years ago. He was making a show about a war inside of his own heart. The Lich was a 10-foot, which is about 3 meters tall, skeleton that never laughed and never felt emotion. This was the opposite of the rest of the show. While Finn and Jake were making fart jokes, the Lich was speaking about the extinction of every living thing. Hands down, this is the darkest part of any cartoon on a major network. Pendleton Ward admitted that the Lich is dead serious. There is no punchline with him. He is a personification of the void. A lot of people are confused about why a kids show would include a character like this. For the creator, it was necessary. He had to put that darkness somewhere. Otherwise, it would have consumed him. Basically, the show is a way to process the fear that everything we love can disappear in a second. The sense of dread was not just in the villains. It was in the very ground they walked on. In the early days, the network told him to tone down the scary stuff. They wanted more candy and less skeletons. But he fought for the darkness. He knew that without the threat of the void, the happiness of the characters would not mean anything. There are still many rumors in the air about how much the network actually rejected. Some say there were entire episodes about the death of humanity that never saw the light of day. But what many can confirm is that the version we got was already pushing the limits of what was allowed for children. But the real heartbreak was not a monster at all. The transition from a simple villain to a tragic figure is one of the most famous parts of the series. Everyone is obsessed with the Ice King. For the first 2 seasons, he was just a lonely guy who kidnapped princesses. He was pathetic and funny. But then, Pendleton Ward and his team did something that changed television history. They revealed that the Ice King was once a man named Simon Petrikov. He was a scientist who found a magical crown to protect a little girl during the apocalypse. And get this. The crazy part is that the crown was a curse. It gave him the power to survive the nuclear fire, but it took away his mind. It is a perfect metaphor for dementia or severe mental illness. What most people do not realize is that this was not the plan from the beginning. The creator admits that they changed their minds halfway through. They realized that a villain who is just evil is boring. They wanted a villain who makes you cry. Simon's story is about a man who loses his identity to save someone he loves. It is a key detail that Marceline, the vampire queen, was that little girl. Their bond is the emotional core of the entire show. When they sing together about their shared past, it is hands down one of the saddest moments in animation. A lot of people are confused about why a show for 7-year-olds would deal with the loss of memory and the pain of being forgotten. But for Pendleton Ward, this was the real world. He used his own themes of abandonment to shape Marceline. She was left alone by her father, then by Simon, and then by the world. The Fry song might seem like a joke, but it is actually about the deep hurt of a parent who does not care. It's not that simple though. The creator wanted to show that even in a world made of sugar and magic, people still get their hearts broken. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of her character. She hides her pain with cool music and a tough attitude, but inside, she is still that little girl waiting for Simon to come back. The crown itself is a symbol of power that costs too much. It is about 20 inches or 50 centimeters wide, but it weighs more than a mountain on the wearer's soul. Simon Petrikov gave up everything. He lost his fiancée, his career, and his very name. By the time we meet him as the Ice King, he's just a shell. This was the creator's way of talking about how people can disappear even while they are still standing right in front of you. So here's the deal. The Land of Oo is not just a place of adventure. It is a place where every character is mourning something they lost during the Mushroom War. Some secrets were even too dark for the network to show. Finn the Human was never merely a protagonist. He was a demographic anomaly, a biological dead end that served as the emotional anchor for a world that had already moved on. For 7 years, the premise of the show rested on the isolation of his species, yet the weight of that loneliness was often masked by primary colors and absurdist humor. Pendleton Ward originally envisioned an origin for Finn that skewed much closer to cosmic horror than whimsical fantasy. There are persistent rumors that the network intervened because the initial drafts for the Great Mushroom War and Finn's arrival in Oo were too nihilistic for a daytime slot. In those early iterations, the extinction of humanity wasn't a tragic accident, but a calculated erasure, leaving Finn not as a survivor, but as a laboratory curiosity or a lingering ghost of a failed era. Even with the softened edges, the show remains a prolonged exercise in mourning. Finn matures in real time, losing his innocence, his literal limb, and his delusions of a heroic lineage, making one of the few instances where a cartoon allows its lead to carry the permanent scars of his growth. The introduction of Martin Mertens shattered the traditional found father trope with a cold, analytic precision. Most narratives of this type build toward a restorative reunion where the father's absence is justified by a grand sacrifice. Instead, Martin was presented as a pathologically selfish opportunist, a man who viewed his son not as a legacy, but as a complication. This choice reflects Ward's commitment to a specific brand of realism, the acknowledgement that trauma is often senseless and that those who give us life are frequently incapable of sustaining it. Finn's refusal to descend into villainy despite this abandonment suggests a radical theory about the nature of Oo itself. Perhaps the land isn't just a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but a sentient purgatory of the imagination designed to test the resilience of the human spirit. Under this lens, every monster Finn fights is a manifestation of his own developing ego, and Martin represents the ultimate shadow, the version of Finn that chooses survival over empathy. One of the more jarring theories suggests that the Great Mushroom War was not a conventional nuclear conflict, but a reality-warping event triggered by an attempt to access the multiversal juice seen in the Enchiridion. This would explain why the laws of physics in Oo are so fluid and why magic returned with such violence. If the Lich is the literal embodiment of the last breath of a dying world, then his persistent desire for extinction is actually a quest for cosmic equilibrium. He isn't a villain in the classical sense. He is a cleanup crew for a universe that was never supposed to persist after the bombs fell. This leads to a deeper, more unsettling possibility, that Finn is not actually a human, but a sophisticated biological construct generated by the planet to act as a witness. The humans on the islands might be the only true remnants, while Finn is a localized phenomenon, a hero archetype manifested by the Earth to ensure that the story of humanity has a noble ending rather than a pathetic whimper in a bunker. Ward's departure from the showrunner role was a physical and psychological necessity, a burning alive by the sheer magnitude of the world he had birthed. He poured his own existential dread and creative fatigue into the script, turning the production of the show into a meta-narrative about the cost of maintenance. Just as the Ice King must constantly struggle to keep his crown from erasing his identity, Ward had to step away to prevent the demands of the brand from erasing his own voice. This burnout is mirrored in the cyclical nature of the series. The finale reveals a future Oo, 1,000 years removed, where Shermie and Beth encounter a world that has once again decayed and rebuilt itself. This suggests a great loop theory where the universe of Adventure Time is a closed temporal circuit. The Catalyst comets aren't just harbingers of change, they are system resets. Every 1,000 years, a new hero and a new dog emerge to play out the same drama of growth and loss. meaning that Finn and Jake are just one iteration in an infinite sequence of avatars. The role of BMO in this grand cycle is often underestimated. As a sentient gaming console built to play, BMO is the only character who transcends the tragedy of memory loss. While Simon Petrikov loses his mind to the crown and Finn loses his youth to time, BMO simply updates his internal storage. A compelling wild theory posits that the entire series of Adventure Time is actually a reconstruction of historical data performed by a far future BMO. In this scenario, the inconsistencies in the lore and the shifting tones of the episodes aren't writing errors. They are corrupted data files being filled in by BMO's imagination. The show we see is a digital eulogy for a world that ended long before the first episode even began. This would explain the Graybles and the various nested realities. They are subdirectories in a massive ancient hard drive that is slowly failing. The show's darkest secret isn't the origin of the Lich or the details of the war, but the terrifying simple reality of Simon Petrikov's condition. Simon is the audience. He's the personification of the struggle to remain a coherent self in a world that is constantly melting away. His tragedy is the core of the series. The realization that even if you save the world, you might not be the you that started the journey by the time it's over. Adventure Time argues that the spirit endures, but the individual is fleeting. We are all just Simon, clutching at scraps of newspaper and old photographs, trying to remember the names of the people we love before the magic of time and age turns us into something unrecognizable. It is a masterpiece of honesty, stripping away the comfort of the happily ever after to show that while the world ends repeatedly, the act of singing a song in the ruins is the only thing that actually matters. Did you know that the creator's own struggles were the real reason the show felt so heavy at times? Does knowing this change how you see the Land of Ooo? Tell us what you think about the Lich's true origin in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite shows.